Mephisto's throne hummed with bound scholars, their whispers fraying the air. Tyrael's hand gripped Eldruin, its runes bleeding light across shattered stone. Lilith's antlers crowned a cathedral gutted by time, blood-red glass pooling where heaven met earth. Sanctuary did not heal. The war bled through its bones, a wound Anu could not stitch. What fractures the gods leave when they bleed. Sanctuary did not heal. A wound Anu, Tyrael's not a hand gift, but a cosmic gripped afterthought Eldruin. The eternal conflict bleeds not from moral position, but a wound that refuses to clot. Aenus' prison became a pyre. Tathamet's essence seeped into the void, and Sanctuary rose from the Ashab battleground, not a blessing. The two never fought here. Their war asterisk leaked asterisk here. Every demon, every angel, every soul caught in the crossfire merely scavenged the debris of a fracture too vast to mend. The seven great evils are not rivals, they are echoes, Tathamet's shadow, splintered and screaming. If the high heavens built a lie to hide their failure, what does that make the angels' war? A cleanup crew for a debt they cannot pay. The question is not asterisk why asterisk the conflict endures. The question is whether Sanctuary itself is the infection Anu could not purge, and if the wound is still alive, what does it feed on? Before heaven's hymns or hell's dirges, Anu burned a singularity of radiance. He was not God, but the first breath of divinity. From his light he carved darkness. This he named Tathamet. What he could not unmake he cast beyond his gaze. The void recoiled, the void hungered. The war between them split the firmament. Stars became shrapnel, time fractured. From the wreckage rose heaven, hell, and pandemonium prisons, for the conflict Anu could not end. But the void between these realms it bled. A wound, a vacuum. Here, renegade angels and demons forged sanctuary. Not a gift, not a refuge, a suture, a lie woven to contain what Anu had failed to purge. The land itself is the scar. Its soil drinks the blood of the eternal conflict. Every battle, every soul lost there feeds the infection beneath the soil. The perfect light is gone. The darkness it birthed never sleeps. And the field where light and shadow bleed, it waits, always waiting. For the day the wound decides to heal or consume its makers. The Worldstone was no shield, it was a seal. Aenus' ritual to bind Tathamet split the fabric of existence, a wound that bled chaos into the void. Inarius and Lilith did not save Sanctuary. They buried it in the scar. The Worldstone's chains were never meant to keep demons out. They kept Tathamet's rage from unraveling the cosmos. But the prison leaked. Its fractures birthed the seven great evils. Diablo, Mephisto, Baal, not sovereign terrors. Shards of a single will, clawing at the Worldstone's brittle edges. Every battle in Sanctuary is a tremor in the old wound. Every soul a thread in the tapestry Anu tried to stitch. The sin war was not a rebellion, it was a house fire. Inarius and Lilith's theft did not hide Sanctuary, it plunged the prison deeper into the bleeding. The Worldstone's heart still pulses with Tathamet's hunger. The seven are not masters, they are messengers. Whispers of a god too vast to die, too broken to rest, and the land they walk, a shroud, a tomb, a battlefield where every stone is a shackle, every shadow a reach. Sanctuary was never meant to be saved, it was meant to hold the line, until the fracture chooses to heal or swallow its makers whole. What if Sanctuary wasn't a cradle but a wound? Aenus' ritual burned not to conquer, but to cage. The celestial fracture split reality when Tathamet's will shattered the prison. Heaven's crystal arch gleams with Aenus' final breath. Hell's flames roar with Tathamet's escaped rage. Between them, Sanctuary festers a raw nerve where the ritual collapsed. The two never waged war for dominance. Their battles are a dam, not a battle. Each clash of angels and demons patches the same leak. The seven great evils, Tathamet's dying gasp, still seeping through Sanctuary's veins. Every soul born here is a bandage on a wound too old to name. Pandemonium churns where their remains rot. The eternal conflict has no beginning because containment failed before time began. Aenus' light and Tathamet's shadow thrash in a low, neither winner nor loserly wardens of a prison that cannot hold. Sanctuary's skies weep with the weight of what it contains. Its mountains crack under the pressure of a reality that should have imploded. The Peel here do not live, they endure, bound to a world that is not a home but a barricade. What kind of god leaves such a scar? What kind of darkness demands to be remembered? The two fight not to save, but to delay. Their war is a clockwork, ticking down the moment Sanctuaries seem split in. And when the fracture chooses to heal or swallow its maker's whole sanctuary will not be freed, it will be unmade. The Akarat Orthodox claim sanctuary was a high heaven's gift. The Book of Cain calls it a refuge carved from the void between the two's war. Tyrael's vote in the Sin War Tribunal did not save a sacred world. It preserved a shiv buried in the wound of Aenus' failed prison. The eternal conflict was never good versus evil. It was Aenus' prison crumbling, Tathamet's hunger seeping through every crack. Renegade angels and demons did not build sanctuary as a haven. They carved it as a splinter, something solid to jam into the void's throat. Tyrael saw what the high heavens refused. Sanctuary is not holy. It is a bandage, a festering one. The 7 great evils are not ancient kings. They are Tathamet's teeth gnawing at the scar. Every battle in this world is not a moral war. It is a scream in a pressure chamber, a plea to keep the fracture sealed. What if the high heavens do not love this world? What if they fear it, a monument to their failure, a proof that Aenus' cage was always a lie? The two's war was never about balance. It was containment and sanctuary. It is the canker in the wound, the thing that refuses to rot, the chronicler's right of divine gifts. The tribunal's records tell another tale. Tyrael did not vote to save a sanctuary. He voted to delay the moment the void remembers it was never meant to be whole. The deeper question remains, why does sanctuary endure? The two's war did not create it. It is the wound where Anu's chains failed, where Tathamet's hunger seeped into the fabric of being. Every battle, every evil is a tremor in that fractured scar. The void does not forget, it waits. And if the high heavens built their fortress on a grave, what do their angels guard when the stone cracks? The stone cracked, the high heavens did not weep. They had already buried their sin beneath stars. Sanctuary was never a cradle, it was a suture. Anu did not defeat Tathamet. He lashed the void's throat with light, stitching a wound that bled into the void's hunger. The eternal conflict was not aware it was a cough. A shuddering, endless exhalation of a god suffocating on his own creation. The world stone was a bandage, a temporary knot in the unraveling. Its shattering in Diablo Roman 2 did not weaken sanctuary. It revealed its purpose, the removal of a plug. The pressure had always been there. The darkness, Tathamet's breath, pushing against Aenus' fraying threads. Every soul that walked the mortal realm was a needle and thread, stitching the impossible into coherence. The angels did not guard a paradise, they patrolled a pressure valve. Mephisto's return in the vessel of hatred is not a cycle, it is a drip from a leaking dam. The 7 great evils are not prisoners. They are splinters of Tathamet's essence, expelled by Aenus' failing containment. Each archdevil, each prime evil, is a symptom of the wound's infection. The high heavens do not fight for light. They fight to keep the dark from spilling into the void's end mouth. Sanctuary's survival is a paradox. It exists because the conflict refuses to end. Because Aenus' light and Tathamet's dark are locked in a stalemate, neither can afford to win. Dark are every lockhead in a battle, afford to every sacrifice. Every mortal's fleeting courage is a stitch in a fabric that should have collapsed eons ago. The angel's wings are not banners of he. They are the scaffolding under a bridge with no foundation. What remains when the last stitch breaks, not salvation, not ruin. The void's yawn, finally unchained, and sanctuary. It will not fall, it will cease. To have never been. Sanctuary was never meant to be. The scar Anu carved to cage Tathamet became the womb for a world that should not live. The two's war is not a cyclate, is a static, a scream frozen in the fabric of reality. The world stone does not shield this realm, it buries it. What Cain's last note seems to say, etched in ash between the lines, is this: the gods are prisoners here too. Their conflict was never about dominion, it was about survival. Anu did not defeat Tathamet. He fractured her, splintered her will into the 7, each a shard of what he could not unmake. The high heavens do not watch over sanctuary, they avert their eyes. The worldstone's glow is not a beacon, it is a gag, a ward to smother the stench of what lies beneath the soil and stone. The eternal conflict is a wound that bled into being, a battlefield with no end because the prisoners have no exit. The reading the codex most honors is not the clash of gods. It is the quiet defiance of those who walk this scarred world. Every choice, every blade raised, every hand extended, these are the stitches mortals sew into the rift, not to win, not to conquer. To remember, to keep the void from swallowing the memory of what was never meant to be. The two's war is eternal, but so is the will of those who dwell in its shadow. The prison may never fall, but its inmates, they are learning to bleed light. The prison bled, its walls are not stone but stolen time. Enos' chain was a suture, not a victory. Every Nephilim bears the mark of that wound. The worldstone's fragment splintered, screaming hold the last thread of what was never meant to be. You think the two warring gods shaped this realm? No, their clash tore it from the void. Sanctuary is not a world, it is a scar. The seven evils are not rivals, they are Tathamet's breath, Enos' failure made flesh. Each soulstone raised was a Leah monument to a power that only delayed the unraveling. Now the fragments lie dormant. Now the Nephilim must choose, to wield them as weapons or as needles. To sever, to let the battlefield breathe or let it choke on its own making. The next age will not be fought with swords, it will be woven with choices. Will you stitch the wound or let the two bleed through you? The worldstone's shattering was not an end, it was a question, and every soul that walks this scarred earth is an answer. What will yours become? The eternal conflict was never a war of ideals, it was a surgeon's failed amputation. Anu did not seek to slay Tathamet, to excise her chaos from the fabric of being. But reality does not bleed, it fractures. When the worldstones shattered, their splintered light did not cleanse, it scarred. The wound Anu carved to cage her became the womb of sanctuary, a realm where order and entry coil like serpents in a shared grave. The gods did not gift this world. They birthed it from their own failure. Here, the air tastes of iron and regret. The ground trembles not from quakes, but from the weight of two titans' unfinished argument. Tathamet's essence seeps into every shadow, a poison that is also a cure. The seven great evils are not villains, they are shards of her splinters too sharp to remove, too deep to ignore. Enos' chains hold, but they bend. His light dims where Tathamet's darkness leaks. The battlefield is not a metaphor, it is the bedrock of existence. Mortals walk this scarred earth, their hearts twin engines of he and despair. They are the only ones who can choose. To kneel to the wound is to become it. To it is to defy the will of gods. Every act of creation is a stitch. Every act of cruelty is another tear. The weight of this choice is not a burden. It is the price of sovereignty. To be alive here is to know that perfection was never the design. Survival is the miracle. What does it mean to endure when the world itself is a mistake? The chronicler does not answer, they only witness. They see the dawn rise over a land where gods and demons are not enemies, but symptoms. The true war rages in the silence between breaths in the hands that decide whether to build or to break. Sanctuary is not a prison, it is a question mark carved into eternity. And every soul that walks it is the pen that writes the answer. That question has no answer, only a wound. Anu's chains shattered Tathamet's form into seven screaming shards, each a splinter of chaos driven into the fabric of existence. What emerged was not a world, but a scarflesh of reality knitting over the rot. The two never ceased their war, they merely changed weapons. Now their fury is etched into every mountain's spine, every river's course. The seven great evils are not villains, they are echoes, fractured voices of a god who was never whole. Sanctuary breathes. Its soil pulses with the memory of Anu's hammer and Tathamet's howl. Every battle fought here is a reenactment, every death a stanza in an elegy no one can hear. The high heavens do not watch, they retreat, ashamed. This is their greatest failure, a realm where light and shadow are not opposites but twins, bound by the same fever. The Book of Cain's final note lingers, a dirge in the void. Asterisk sanctuary is a refuge carved from the void between the two's war. Asterisk a refuge, the irony bleeds. For what lies between Anu and Tathamet is not peace, it is the silence before the next blow, and the next, and the next. What if the worldstone's shards are not relics, they are stitches? A wound in time, where Anu's chains shattered Tathamet's essence into seven screaming fractures. Each fragment pulses with the old god's rage, bound yet unkillable. The seven great evils are not demons, they are splinters of a cosmic splinter. To mend this rift is to unmake sanctuary itself, or to let the wound fester forever. The codex whispers of a ritual no priest dares name. Do the fragments seal the scar or complete it? Your faith claims the high heavens gave us salvation. But what if their gift was a bandage on a bleeding star?